We are happy to welcome back to BNC via Skype Jerry Bembry, senior writer for The Undefeated, who recently authored a story about a young man who lives in Washington, D.C., who hopes to become a future NASCAR great. Jerry, thanks for joining us. We appreciate your time. Tell us how you came about Rajah Caruth's story.
Well, I had a couple of friends tell me about this young man in Washington, D.C., who was hoping to be a NASCAR driver and had been accepted into the driver diversity program. So I went to an event a fundraising event they had for the young man. And then I went to his house and interviewed him and saw his in-home setup with iRacing, where it's kind of like a computer game, simulated racing. So, he's been interested in race car driving since he's probably been 4 or 5 years old. And, he's excited about the opportunity to attempt to get into NASCAR. He was supposed to have his first race about a week ago, but with all the shutdowns, he hasn't been able to do that. So he's just kind of waiting his time like everyone else right now.
Now, many of us know how little African-American representation there is in NASCAR. As far as the highest level, the Cup circuit, you have Bubba Wallace, who finished second in the Daytona 500 2 years ago. That's it. But that hasn't dampened Rajah's enthusiasm for the sport at all. Can you give us a sense of how he knew from a very young age, like you mentioned a moment ago, that racing is what he has always wanted to do?
Yeah, he's always had an infatuation with things that move, and that graduated to going out to amusement parks and driving the go-karts. And then as he got older, he went to a go-kart racetrack in Maryland, and one of the people there who saw him taking laps said, "You know what? You should join our league." And so he joined the go-kart league, and he did pretty well there. And so his dad was just trying to place him. It's like, well, we live in Washington, D.C., which isn't really a hub for race car fans. Really, a lot of race car fans in rural areas, and you really find a great deal of them in an urban area. So while his dad was trying to find a car at a location a couple hours away to rent for his son to drive, he was accepted into the beginning level of the NASCAR diversity program a couple of years ago. And in that level, you drove legend cars, which are really small cars. And last year, he applied for the next stop. It's a driver development program, and they took application for about 100 people, and they narrowed it down to 10, and they invited those 10 people to a combine. And out of that combine, 6 were picked for the development program. So he's one of 6 drivers that will drive cars this year, and more of a full-size car as opposed to the small car that he'd been driving a couple years ago.
Now, one of the other interesting aspects of this story is Rajah, 17 years old, still doesn't have his license yet, as you point out in your story, plans to attend an HBCU, Winston-Salem State, where he will study motorsport management. How disappointed is he that all of what is currently happening is disrupting his opportunity to develop, as you said, in that NASCAR Drive for Diversity program?
Like everyone, he's disappointed, but it's not, it's Rajah, it's college sports athletes who lost their NCAA tournament. Everyone is disappointed in what's going on now. I'm disappointed I can't go play golf and can't go to restaurants. But, the fact that he chose HBCU, why he did that was it's near Charlotte Raceway, and it allowed him to take a program that's a motorsport program, and he can major in that. And part of that program is being at the race course, so he can probably take a lot of courses where he doesn't have to actually be in a class. He could be in a race car setting. So he's really excited for that situation. And you mentioned the fact that he doesn't have a driver's license. His mom was telling me that she was in a car with him, and they were going to a mall, and he made her nervous because he uses 2 feet when he's out there riding, and he rides really close to other cars, which is what you do on a racetrack, but that's not what you should do in the street. So all that makes her nervous.
All right. Now, how about that? 17-year-old Rajah Caruth driving with both feet, because that's what he's used to. So we certainly wish that young man the very best. Certainly wish his parents the best, because I'm sure all of us would be nervous when teaching our youngsters how to drive and they're using both feet. But again, he's going to Winston-Salem State in the fall. I urge all of you to read Jerry Bembry's piece at theundefeated.com.
Oh, I am rooting for him, big time. That's a big deal.
Yeah, 17.
17 years old.
Knows what he wants to do in life, that's
Absolutely.
for sure.
And he's already love bugging people on the street.
Right.